So welcome to Invest, talk about investing, finance, and professional development for today's interviews only. The investment talk today will be Ethereum ticker ETH. So it's my second posting as of today. With respect to recording time on Sunday, on September 12th at 4:06 p.m. on Eastern time. Ethereum currently trading $3,431, up about 3.08% so far. With respect to overall crypto market, is relatively green per our morning video that we've been talking about, right? It seems like overall crypto market is rebounding slightly, from the sell-off that we've been incurring for the last couple of days so far, right? In respect to Ethereum, selling down from the $4,028 down to the $3,011 mark, we subsequently rebounded enormously, right? Which we saw that we rebounded basically by $400 to the next level of the 3,425. So on the media affectation front, I've been reading up some news. I've just been working at home today. Wasn't really going out. As, my typical Sunday routine is biking in the city. But I had a relatively long day yesterday, and I was catching up on work for my week ahead. It's just doing some more research, some more reading again. I feel like I'm reading on a constant basis all the time, either on my phone, to reading text messages, to emails, to newspapers, to et cetera, right? And with respect to Ethereum, on the news front, there's been a couple of interesting articles that've been cultivated from Bazinga specifically, and I would say they're killing it today on Sunday. So with respect to Bazinga, on one article 15 minutes ago, so not too long ago, talk about with respect to their price projection of Bitcoin hitting $150,000 in the next 3 to 5 years. Ethereum should technically 10x from here. So that's technically $34,000 from the level that we at right now. And it's basically analysis that this analyst talked about based on the technical analysis on his portrayal on how it's going to be progressing going forward. So it's interesting. It's obviously a quantitative speculation, which we can dive into a little bit later with respect to corporate adoption percentage. Technically, if 34,000 is what this analyst is saying, what would this translate into in the corporate percentage perspective? Another one talk about was Bazinga again 2 hours ago. Talk about if you had $5,000 at this moment right now, would you put this in Solana? Would you put this in Ethereum or Dogecoin? So it's a more of a juxtaposition news, comparing the three. Obviously, Ethereum is known to be more of a stable coin in comparison to Solana and Dogecoin, which are obviously more prone to volatility, knowing the fact they are altcoin and less regulated with respect to less institutional whales in the equation, if you may, right? Another one coming from Bazinga about 4 hours ago again, talk about Dogecoin again. And this is basically the depiction talk about Dogecoin is prepared to run after rolling over with Ethereum and Bitcoin respectively. So let's take a look at Dogecoin. And I read the article, they basically saying that Dogecoin has a relatively bullish setup right now. Let's see if this is the case, right? So Dogecoin, okay, so we see that we had that run up ever since basically at the bottom at 5 cents. We ran up all the way to 75 cents at the peak when it was in May 8th, right? And ever since that Elon Musk debut on SNL, we sold off significantly, right? And it seems like with respect to the bottom of resistance, technically like the 15 cents level, right? And ever since that we've been percolating, comparable to how Ethereum has been percolating on a sideways fashion, but more of an upward type of wedge that we've been forming so far, right? So with respect to the sell-off, comparable to the ones that we had across the whole crypto market, we crashed down all the way from the 30 cents mark all the way to the bottom at the 21 cents, right? Basically matching with the top tier of the resistance level that we've had so far, right? Comparable to the ones that we crashed down to when we were on June 21st and also subsequently on 23rd as well. And then we had some sideways oscillation. And I had a bunch of sideways oscillations basically, in the mid-July as well, before the whole percolation's upward, right? So would this be an ideal level for us to buy it right now? I would say the answer is an interesting one. I think we are at the oversold level at the moment right now. We are at the 40.34 in the RSI index perspective. And I think if you want to weigh off a little bit, because today is more of a normalization effects from the global side of the house, that I think we might technically sell off a little bit to to be below, closer to the 20 cents level, which I think it should logically make sense because we have tested that multiple times. So I'll probably wait off. But if you want to buy in now, it's not a bad idea because we are having a relatively good setup at the moment. Knowing the fact that we have crossed for a relatively long time on a MACD perspective, and it seems like we're forming a slow curvature at the moment, right? So I think the bottom is definitely very near, and I think the risk reward ratio is relatively good as well, right? Technically, the bottom's at the 16 cents, right? So you're not that off, right? So if you incur some risk here and there, like not buying a lot of Dogecoin, maybe 500 Dogecoin, or $500 worth of Dogecoin, not 500 Dogecoins, or each his own, depending on your risk tolerance, wouldn't be a bad idea at the moment, right? I think it's a relatively good setup because on a macro perspective, crypto should be, getting further adopted going forward. And with respect to the people that's around the table for Dogecoin, obviously Vitalik Buterin, who's the founder of Ethereum, and even Elon Musk is on the board for Dogecoin, right? With respect to their, seems like they have this partnership or alliance conference that've been cultivated, for Dogecoin to institutionalize this going forward. That gives a stamp of approval for investors going forward, right? So it seems like Dogecoin is not like like a meme anymore. It's actually becoming a real asset. It just it was a meme before, but it seems like it got subsequently cultivated with institutional adoption that becomes a real thing now. So it's an interesting story that how it kind of transform and turn around over time. And then another one talking about with respect to the news again on CNBC, talk about with respect to investors' guide to Solana, the Ethereum alternative that's up 300% in the last 30 days so far, right? So we know that Solana has surged up relatively dramatically, and with respect to how it's set up currently in comparisons to the morning, I would say it's still in the more of a bearish side of the house, right? We have incurred such massive surge so far, right? And whenever it goes up really really fast, how long did that take us, right? We took us like from August 26th all the way to the 9th, so like basically 2 weeks approximately for us to run up this dramatically from like the $71 level to 215, right? It's like almost 300%, right? Like that's what the CNBC article is talking about. So, and also at the same time, we formed that apex, so we are slowly curving back down. On top of that, our side still overbought. So, it makes sense for us to just cool off a little bit, wait for the level, right? Firstly, dollar cost average maybe 142, 114. But for me, if I was to really come in, I would say start doing that around like 66 cents. To be honest, that's just my personal risk tolerance, right? And that's pretty much it on the news front. So let's go back into Ethereum to see how we're trending right now. Okay. So with respect to normalization that we're seeing today, you could see that we sold off significantly and then we sold off again. And today's a rebound. It's a normalization because it's a Monday on the other side of the house in the world that people recuperate back. And I believe the equity side of the house is a relatively green day today as well. So that subsequently will drive some buying pressure across the house, and that's why we are rebounding slowly, right? And Ethereum, we are, still leaning toward more of a, more of a medium zone of risk tolerance in the RSI perspective. That we're at the 51.95 in the index spectrum right now. So for me, again, right, I'll wait until it hits below 35, and it seems like we are not really forming a curvature upward. We're still leaning more of a downward curvature so far, despite the green day that we are currently experiencing, up 3% so far. That's just more logical for us to sell off. So we'll wait until the following days coming, and I think with respect to the CPI report that should be technically coming out, and also with respect to job numbers that we should be hearing, momentarily by the end of September. And also with respect to obviously, the Feds, right, talk about the job numbers, how that triangulate with the asset purchases, which is the quantitative tapering plan that will have in store for us, how that would triangulate and affects the equity market and how that anti-correlates with crypto market is something we also have to be watching out for. Also, on the other side of the house, on the macro perspective, is the whole COVID variants, which we still need to keep an eye out on, right? one of my senior advisors at my personal at the fund that I work at right now. He just contracted COVID when he came to New York recently. So he's at a relatively later age, right? He's like close to being like 60. I think he's like late 50s right now, and it seems like that's something that is still an occurrence that's cultivating in New York City, and that this is just from my personal experience, right? But with this COVID variant and how that will subsequently be detrimental to us in the near future, that's something I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know. I know that we're slowly reopening back up, but is that the logical and the right strategic decisions to be made? That's something that I frankly don't know, right? Because I'm not a medical professional. I do not keep track of the cases numbers across the world and in a regional or geographical perspective. Nor do I know how to counter that either, right? So I'm not someone that's a subject matter expert in that particular space, but I just know that it's important for us to all be self-aware and protect yourselves and also protect others by wearing masks and always be hygienic and use hand sanitizers and you know try to cover your mouth, or when you feel sick try to quarantine yourself just to be more self-aware, right? And if we can collectively do that and not just go out and not wear masks and and not be self-aware, again I keep mentioning that word over and over again, that we should collectively be okay and we should ride this out collectively, right? So anyways, with respect to Ethereum, again I think I went off track a little bit. So with respect to the psychology of the market cycle, I think we are still within the anxiety and denial phase. I think we're in the middle of it, and is a reason why we kind of oscillate on the sideways fashion, up and down, up and down, up and down, right? It's not that obvious, for us to know like, oh, this is exactly in the anxiety phase, this is exactly in the denial phase, and we know that the oscillations are oftentimes a mental trigger, right? It's like, oh, am I missing out because we up 3% today? Right? Just know that whatever goes up really, really fast comes down just as fast. So you just have to believe in the long-term fundamentals, the market cycles, right? And to do that, knowing the fact that we keep reminding ourselves with this cheat sheet, and to stay within the frame of reference for sanity would be the levels right here, right? 3,000, 2,750, 2,450, right? And these are the levels, ideally for me, 2,700, 2,450, that's I would be dollar cost averaging at, right? But long term wise, right, per the technical analysis that the Bazinga analysts talk about, right, he says somewhere around like the 34,000. That's basically like 70% corporate adoption, 11.4% from here, right? So that's a relatively, astronomical gains for me, knowing the fact I do have a relatively large holding at the moment right now. And my return will be enormously high at 11.4%. So I hope that his speculation is correct, but with respect to the time frame, 3 to 5 years, I hope so. I'm believing that it's going to be 25,000 going forward, but it seems like there are more bullish sentiments among analysts, and to each his own. Ultimately, this is still speculations, right? And I hope he's right. I hope that I'm wrong, right? Ultimately, still leaning more of a green side and the positive side of the spectrum. So just hold out if you bought the higher levels that we at right now, right? So hopefully this is helpful. This is my second Sunday recap and updates, if you may. And hopefully you guys have a great rest of the Sunday. If you guys on Monday already, have a great rest of the week coming. You probably see me again tomorrow. And have a great one, and take care, and stay tuned for next come up. Take care.